Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is having a good day so far. Happy Tuesday. I know people in Waco, Baylor alums are ecstatic this morning. Yes. So congrats to Baylor, the men's team, and actually the women's, they went far also. So it's been a good weekend. Hope everyone had a great Easter. Let's go ahead and get into it. Bears. All right. Waco's in the house. And then we got Pasadena and El Paso. All right. All right. So today, not a lengthy agenda, but kind of a deep agenda probably. We will do a little GT up information. We will talk about just a highlight on the certification process. Now, everyone is wondering about what's happening this year and what's going to happen next year and what's you're going to be accountable for. And then looking at data sources and review of that of our data. How we're doing that, and then give an opportunity for you to do some district happenings, shout outs, some things that you got going on, and then some different resources that you may want to that are available, and then some things that are coming up that you might want to involve your students. And then if you want to share, and then also let's get into, just want to give you, look, I always try to keep you updated on our numbers. So our student numbers did increase, not by 10,000s this time, but it decreased by 5,311, but in our staff increased by 2,149. So I hope that you are taking care of yourself as we go into our wellness check. If you have the opportunity to get your vaccination, if you believe in those in vaccinations, I hope that you have done that. You're doing your safety procedures as we open up into this world. And then I hope that everyone had a great spring break, that you took time to do something for yourself, get away, or just relax with a good book, or cook something different. So I hope everyone is doing well. And if you're fully back in school, hopefully it's going well for you. And if you're slowly trickling back into that real 100% or non-virtual, take it slow, take it easy, and glad you're here with me today. All right, so as you know, our COVID information it has not changed since the beginning of the year, since we put those documents out. A couple of things do update. So there has been the guidance on the return to school with the opening of the state, and then also looking at new attendance data information and how that's reported out. So those things have came out. And then with instructional continuity planning, there's been a lot of information coming out about THL, Texas Home Learning, and then also the opportunity to join into the summer school programs, and also looking at some other programs and going into next school year. So if you're looking for some more options, they are doing trainings and opportunities on that. And if you want more information, let me know, and then we can help you with that. And then our counterparts with SPED and our other populations have put out other information also. For those who, we got a few more to go before the year is out. So there are the links, and if you need to share that with someone, please do. Our COVID guidance is still out there, our Start Strong, and then our FAQ. So looking at that, if you need those, they are still there. Couple of what's the last month? Yeah, things are starting to fast and furious. So yes, last month did put the announcement out. So if you did not get that announcement, please sign up. Here is the link to sign up through our TA website. You can also go on our TA webpage in the top corner underneath the search bar and put your information there. So I'm gonna pause right here with state definition. And I want to say Paulina is online probably. And I'm gonna give her a moment to talk about TAGT if she wants to come off mute and talk about, because I know you got something big coming up, right?
Good morning, Monica. I'm going to stay off camera today. I'm not camera ready, but I wanted to say good morning to everybody. Hopefully agreed. Hopefully you guys have had a great spring break. We kicked off our Leadership Plus series last week or the week before on March 23rd. There's still time to register for that, but also wanted you guys to know that we've opened registration for the June your equity and your GT program, which is going to be our one-day Gifted Plus Equity conference. And so that's open if you are not registered for Gifted, for Leadership Plus, it's open for you or your teams to attend. And that information is at txgifted.org. Legislatively, some of you have assisted us with some feedback on a couple of bills around school accountability and student achievement. We don't have any updates on those yet, but if you don't get our Thursday emails, let me know. I'll put my email in the chat and we'll get you added to those. We are also in the middle of GT Awareness Week, which is our big social media week that celebrates gifted students and educators and aims to build awareness of what it is that you all do and what makes our students unique. Tonight, we have a webinar for parents that is on advocating for your student in the COVID and post-COVID world. That's going to be great. We've got over 500 people registered for that. And if you haven't already shared it with your parents or your families in your area, I'll post a link to that as well. You can shoot something out at the last minute there. I think that's it, Monica, unless there's anything else that you guys have questions about. I'm going to stick around and listen in. And so I'll be here and you can private chat me or chat me in the chat and we'll get you taken care of.
Thank you, Paulina. Great opportunities. I always want to share. Kind of today, want to look at the state definition, but look at it a little bit differently. So as you know, this is what we're looking at. And this is that season where a lot of you either have just completed your kinder testing or you're going into your regular testing of your students for program services. And that really should reflect back into your definition as you look at as a district. So, but the state definition, as we look at it, we know that we're talking about a child who performs at or shows the potential, and that they're remarkably high accomplishment when compared to the students of the same age, experience, or environment, and then who exhibits high performance capability in an intellectual, creative, or artistic area, and then have that unusual capacity for leadership, and then also looking at the specific academic fields. And so today we really want to look at, let's kind of break that down. And how do you define performance in your district? What does that look like when you're talking about potential for performing at high, remarkable levels? What does that look like in your district? What does that accomplishment look like? Is it clearly defined for your staff and for those who explain it to others? So when they're looking and they're working with students, and our definition does go children or youth. So what does that look like? Because I think we all kind of know what it looks like, what you're looking for at the elementary level, but what are you looking for when you hit that secondary level? Are you really still continuously identifying students? Because we are a K-12 program. What does that look like? What does show potential mean? And those are some key questions you really should be thinking about and defining. And what are you looking for in the students? And how are you building potential, or are you just seeking potential? What does that mean for your district, for your campuses, and for your teachers when you really start looking, how do we go to the next level? How do we build our student population? How do we look for students that are going to that next level or to teach them at that next level? Um, and so kind of keeping those lines there, what is that remarkable high level of accomplishment? And then if they've met that remarkable high level of accomplishment, how we're moving them to the next level. How do we get them to that next level of mastery for them, that individual student, and not just this is what a number says on a test, but really looking at how do we get them to the next word. And then how do you describe a experience and environment? What does that look like? And then are you really looking at a district environment or a campus environment? What is that experience? And then how does that play into how do you look at your student population and how do you look at your program services? Coming from a large district and knowing that that one district could really go from, depending on where you lived, from almost a rural aspect to the metro modern aspect of a large suburban district, an urban district. So you really have to think. Some of our, when you think of Dallas and Houston, they have that full gamut of, it could be almost rural in the concept of it's on the outskirts, but, and that's how they, that community that's built in to where, they are truly urban city environment, and that student experience is totally different. Where a student experience from campus to campus can be different, north, east, south, west can be totally different. So really thinking about what does that look like when you're talking about it as a district. And then that goes into when you start looking at your district policies, some of you do have that intra-district and the intra-district policy on transfer. So because it might look different from campus to campus. So really thinking about what does that mean and being clear on what are you looking for. And so as we get into our state goal, so really remembering that we are going about looking for those skills, those demonstrated skills in self-directed learning, thinking, research, and communication. And as we know, at this point, a lot of our students really need, self-directed learning and thinking and research really needs some background and some supports in it. And our students need some of that. So really looking at that and then working on that concept of providing them that holistic area of supports. And so that will be one of our upcoming topics for GT Tuesday, is really supporting the whole child. Because I know there's times when we're sitting behind a computer all day long. It's like, I got to escape. I have to go outside, got to touch something else and do something different. But then how are we making sure that our students have that ability to be truly individuals, show their creativity, and then are they demonstrating those professional quality products? And then really thinking, when we're talking about this and we're talking about looking at our full gamut of program services and then looking at how do we expand. And then when we get to that secondary level and you're knowing that there are certain, they have really started building in onto their process, the secondary with the CTE and the others, the problem-based or the project-based learning projects, or they have that those products that they're putting out. And then we have to remind our educators, yes, they're doing a lot of products, they're doing a lot of projects, but is that for specifically for a GT student or an advanced student in that program? Or is it what all students do and they have just risen to another level? So really looking at how do we define that, especially if you're thinking building in and trying to branch out and support our students as they branch out into those specific academic fields, really looking at what does it mean to be a GT student in welding? And I'm just using welding as an example, but it could be in home ec or, car craft, wherever they are in automotives or robotics, what does that look like compared to what does it look like for all students being in that program? So really thinking about how does it look and what are we looking for when we say this is a high quality professional product, or this is what we're saying is that advanced product as we're looking for students. So on to the GT certification timeline. So currently for this year, what we're looking at is we've had our start of school. We've had our district level identification, and you have been identifying all of your GT students throughout the school year so far. So you're identifying and serving them, and you've been implementing the state plan. So in the blue, you will see we've had 2 snapshots at this point in time. So the first one was our fall, which was done at the last of October, the last Friday of October. And then our winter snapshot, which was the last Friday in February. So that winter snapshot is the one where right now you will have opportunities to clean up that data in the next different points in the reporting process according to PEEMS. And all of this is due through PEEMS. And then so the last one is where we're waiting on that report from last year. And then going into reporting for this year is your program intent code 21. So that will be reported in June. So as you look at this and you think, okay, what is my next steps? Your next steps is really at this time, I would say work with your accounting and your budget to make sure that they are accounting your funds correctly. You received, and if you have not received it from either your ESC or through the newsletter, it is available on the GT website, the list of GT funds, your estimated funds for 2021. So that is what they're going to be working on to say this is your budgeted amount per the basic, what has been allocated in the basic allotment. So as you know, the allotment went away, but you have money in the basic allotment. So really remember, you have money in the basic allotment for GT funds. And there is a set amount and it has been established. So as you look at that, that is your next step. And then finishing up where you are now with making sure that your students are identified and served, and then really being clear on if you're doing April identification, when do those students start services, and making sure people know to serve them as we go forward. And what time do you start that? So kind of looking into that and then walking into our next part, really looking at when do you do your annual evaluation, your activities, to look at what are your program services and how do you develop your services. And then what are your evaluation strategies? What are you looking at as your qualitative data? You know, for the last year with COVID and going into that, and then with the change in the state plan, we've really been looking at our program services. How do we change? How do we move? How do we grow? And this is a prime opportunity also to really think about what is my program? I know a lot of you have really struggled with getting services done in the virtual world, and then also making sure that your kids have opportunities to move forward. So really looking at how do we do this as we go back into either you're going back on a virtual process next year or during summer, or going into what do we look like as a GT program in your district. And I'm gonna stop with, I see Meredith's question. Regarding the PIC 21 use of fund submission, is there a certain percentage of the funds that should be spent coded using program 21? There has been no defined number by law or rule for the use of program 21 funds. If you remember, prior to this, we were a 45-55 percentage. So you can go from 100% to 10% of use of funds. So really looking at, I would really put an opportunity, if you can work with your budget people, to really be clear on how much is being spent on your staff, professional learning, and in your assessment, because those are the top 3 that most of your money is going to. Staff, professional learning, and then assessment. Hopefully, to help alleviate some of your funding, your assessment is going to the assessment department, and they are paying for it because they have a little bit larger line code. But looking at that, okay, I'm gonna go back to the chat right quick. Conference information. And then I see suggestions on, so Allison's looking for suggestions for quantitative and qualitative data, which is used to evaluate our programs. So it's going to vary and depending on where you're going and what you're doing and what's really available. I'm one that's going to be the one in favor of not purchasing elaborate things to evaluate your program. So I will start with start with the state plan, looking at how are you aligned with the state plan. 2 is what we're going to be talking about today, is looking at your data, looking at what is there, what is already available, and then how does your district look at, how is your district moving with that data? So as I go to the next one, I would say look at your really make sure that you're really truly defined. What is your program designer options and at all levels? And then when you're starting looking at your program design and options, and when you're looking at how you're identifying your students, are those programs and design, is that design and your options and your services matching what you're testing for? So if you're doing general intellect, how does that fit in when you're starting to get into those specific courses at the secondary, sometimes at the elementary level when you're not, when you're going departmentalized. So really looking at how does that look, maybe starting at 4th grade, but definitely at 6th and going up, how does that look and how do we identify students for that? Are you losing? And then looking at what is that criteria for your identification? Does it vary from campus to campus, or is it the same for district-wide that allows for some variance in numbers, or is it very strict and you're very and your numbers are very low? So is it because your criteria is so high, or is it the test measures that you're using? And then also looking at those test measures, looking at those norms and the validity of that test. How old is that test? And I think I showed you previous session, but if not, I can go back to it again, is really looking at, there is on the assessment side of our website, there is the achievement test, and when the group normed achievement test and how long they've been norm reference within that 8-year window for them, for assessment on that side. So looking at, are they in that same window and are they in that same process? And then looking at who is involved in your selection process. Really looking at, who's that committee? Is it district level? When were they last trained? And are they looking at your whole numbers? And so I will go into really looking at, when you start thinking about your district, think about your numbers. I would think about what are your services? Is it meeting your population needs? Because I would say, just thinking Centerville ISD may not have the same population needs for GT services as Dallas ISD. So you really got to think, what is the need here and where are we wanting to go as we go into those programs and looking at that program and then how we're providing services. Then looking at what are are you a pull-in program, pull-out program? What are your program design options are? Is it full inclusion? What does that look like? And what is those teachers' expectations? And how are we training those teachers on those expectations? And are we getting the results? Are we looking at the materials that we're that will build our programs. Part of my learning and ahas of this year is really that some of the material, well, most of the material that's been developed by publishers does not have our audience in any of their mindset other than maybe an enrichment piece once a quarter, you know? And even if they think of it at that point. And so really that's been one of our struggles and one of our drives as we've been working with curriculum developers is to really push more of is not just extra work or you're putting them as the group leader, but really how do you build their educational process into this? And so really looking at those different options as we go into it. I know that kind of sounded like a big ramble, but I hope that helped as we talk about it. And then I can probably give you some more specifics as we go in. I do not have specific, I would say, measures of here's a program or an evaluator that can come and give you some specific numbers. There are different vendors who will come out and do a program evaluation for you. But then, you know, also I would say start it in-house, really thinking about what are you doing, why are you doing it, and then is it meeting your program goals? And then what are your program goals? Because sometimes that's the simplest thing is to really to start about what are our program goals and then how do we meet that and going into that. Yes, so you will receive the PowerPoint and the video recording will be posted on the website or also on our YouTube channel. So all the videos will be there too. And all of this, I'm really trying to get our stuff all cleaned up. So I just wanted to really go into starting into looking at our state enrollment. And here is our all enrollment, looking at our student populations and then looking at the different populations. Kind of through this one, threw out some data a couple of weeks ago. And we're going to look at some of that again, but then we're going to go into a little bit more. So really looking at 2020-21, and this is the current data that is available on the website. And I'm going to walk you into that in a few. But as you see, we're still running we're about 443,000 students in our program of services. So we're slowly trickling. We're not the smallest pop in the group. But as you see, we're still looking at different places. And then, so as you see, our biggest areas in the state are economically disadvantaged, our Title I students, and then our at-risk students, and then our English learners. And so we're kind of down by bilingual and then our gifted are kind of in those areas there. So kind of going back to our conversation earlier. So are you receiving your data? So are you working with your PEMS coordinators or your district or your regional coordinators to get your district data? Do you know how many students you're serving per campus? Identified by teacher, by program, by services. Really, are you looking at that data? How many students are mastering STAR? How many of them are being successful in the classes that they are? You know, in your pull out programs, are you taking attendance? Are they showing up for programs, for services? You know, those are some simple data points, but sometimes those are very evident data points. You know, if they're not going to program services, how are you saying you're serving students? So really looking at how's that being recorded. Some of you is just really still back to the sign-in sheet, where some it is a part of attendance and really thinking of that. And then what are you seeking to find from your data? If you're looking at your test data and you're looking over multiple years, and I really say you really need to start looking at multiple years, what are you trying to accomplish with that data? Where are you wanting to go? What are you finding? Is there an increase in a certain ethnicity, a decrease in a certain genders? Or we gotta, you know, we're looking at this is where we gotta find these students, or we've tested these students, they're not popping and what is going on? Or is it a problem campus, or this is our stellar campus, and really looking at what is going on here that maybe can be replicated at other campuses, or is it really, this is a great teacher, they're doing great things, how do we move into that next level? And then what are your points of concern? And then what can drive your change? Really thinking about, and really looking at those survey points, and it might be just you're developing a survey monkey for your own district, or working with your logistics teams, your IT team, to build out a survey, just to find some simple things of what is working in your district, what is not working, and it might be just really just having some conversations. And then who are you seeking this data from? Are you talking to your administrators? Are you looking at your higher level, or are you really driving down to your teachers and your counselors? So really thinking about, where you're collecting your data, who's providing that, and then what are your goals? And so kind of want to kind of give you a highlight, and I do apologize, I thought I changed the color, but report descriptions, and let me get to the next one. These are the reports that can be provided through our TA website, and I'm gonna just go there because I can pull it up easier. So when you go to navigating our data, so it's on our website, there's PEIM standards report, and there's enrollment trends. And then we have, these are specific reports if you're really looking to get deeper into certain areas. So our economically disadvantaged, our student programs, our EL students by category, and our student program special populations. So I'm going here first, and then I'm gonna change my screen once it pops. All right, so with PEIM standards reports, this provides you with the data that is the most recent and the most current based on snapshots. So you will see the October snapshot. So once again, it's here under reports and data, student data, and we're going to look at PEIM standards reports for today. So if you've never been to this page, this will give you the information for your geographic information. If you want to know about specific things, depending on where you want to go and what you're trying to find, these are the different places where you can find it. So you have your student reports, but typically the one that we use for our gifted and talented. So as you see here, student enrollment, you got by grade and grade level, but we're going to look at our student program and student population reports. And as you see, it goes from 2014 to the current. So the 2020 or 2021 reports is the new one. So it's based off our October snapshot. And then let me give you, and so this is the information that was kind of blindsided over on the other slide, of really looking at, this is how the determiners and the defined definitions of these different reports. And all of this is available through PEIMS. So our PEIMS data that will pop in. So this goes to our students that have been identified for program services. So you're the identifiers and part of that count for that. So you can get straight up just total statewide totals. You can get regional, county, your district totals for the state, the campus. So if you're really looking at how do you compare, you can get to that point. Even statewide campus, if you want everybody, you can go there. Regional or your own region's total, countywide, your own district total, district-wide campus totals, and then you're selected. So you can get down to a very pinpoint. Anybody want to volunteer for me to look at yours, or we're just going to stick it, we'll just stick right now to regional totals. And you can get it two kinds of ways, web or comma delimited. we'll pull up a spreadsheet for you. So this is our statewide numbers. They did change this up just a little bit because it's now in alpha order. It used to not be in alpha order, but it makes sense to me. All right, Glenda, I'm gonna take you up Clear Creek. I'm gonna go there in a minute. So as you see, here's our state numbers for all of the regions. And this is just straight up populations. And as you will see, who is our largest region is region 4 with 99,000 students. And then we have region 10 with 90,000 coming right behind them. And region 11 is close with 53. So as you can see, we are totally from, I want to say who's our smallest. Region 9 is our smallest with 2,059 students. So we are the true gamut of total population play here and looking at different programs. And as you see, when you look across and as you look into these different programs, as you will see when we'll talk in a few minutes, how does these numbers look compared to our specific population of GT? So you can get that kind of data to that level. So we're going to do selected district-wide totals. And we're going to go next. And so at this point, so you just put in Clear Creek. There's only one. And so now we have Clear Creek's numbers. And as you can see, Clear Creek is in region 4. Clear Creek's population of 4,984 is larger than some of our regional numbers. Okay. So when you really think about how do you get there and how you start looking at your numbers and then looking at your other populations. So of that 4,000, how many of them are also dyslexic? How many of them are also your economically disadvantaged students? So really thinking about, and then with your 992, knowing that you have about 1,000 popular students into the military, how many, are people aware of the military compact? So you got to really start thinking, what are we looking for? And then how do we go there? And then looking at that, there's like 17,000 students that are considered at risk. How do we make sure that those GT students that are possibly on that at-risk list, why are they there? And what are we doing to make sure that they are supported in our program services? So the other report, let's go back out here. So all of these reports are here. You can also find out about your staff, FTEs, and salary reports, and then your student counts for enrollment is available there. And if you ever see 9999, that is because they are masking those students because you have less than 10 possible students, and we do not try not to identify those students. So the other one that you may want to look at is our enrollment trends. Enrollment trends goes back, as you see, very far back with their want to say probably 99 and 98, looking at that data. But if you're looking for more longitudinal numbers and what do we look like as a state? So with your enrollment data, you would kind of go into the different tables, and we do have special pops, and it does break it down. And I'm gonna apologize now as I scroll through here. So you got your economically disadvantaged status, race and ethnicity. And as you read through, don't just discount these pieces of information because it does talk about our different populations. Because this will give you some of those findings that our researchers have found about our programs, about our services. Specifically, they do look at enrollment by grade. age and grade. And then here we are with our special programs. And so as you will see how we have looked over the years with our GT numbers. So we've, started back in 2000, 19,000. Oh God, this morning, 2009 to 2019, 2020. We've increased about a point. So we're slowly trickling up from that 7.6 to that 8.1 where we are now. And so that is a 20.7 difference over a 10-year change. So really looking at how are we changing, how our programs changing, and then what are those increases? And then this one is looking at services by English learners and that comparison. Go back a couple of years, you will see one for our GT population also. So that is just a brief kind of walkthrough of the data and what you can find there in these different reports. So I did share this last time as we talked about our largest districts in per our LEAs. So as you see, Houston, Dallas, and Fort Worth are some of our largest districts. And then coming up close to them in the next level is Plano ISD, Leander, and Austin. And then we have our two largest charter schools, which are International Leadership of Texas and then Harmony Science Academy in Waco. So really looking at these are the ones that are moving, growing. And then here's a sample of just kind of when you're really thinking about a data dig and really looking at your student populations and thinking about it. So this is one of those options that you could use, really thinking about your gender, your social economic, your linguistic, your twice exceptional students. And then, potentially it could grow into looking to something more different. But this is just based on the general data that's readily available per what we just reviewed on the website. And then the other one is a question frame, and it's really what a little bit more thought-provoking compared to just reviewing the data. Looking at that data, what are some of the causes for it? What can we do? Thinking about that. And so really a couple of options that you can use in your processing. And then this is, excuse me, the data of our GT populations, 2020, just really looking at those specific pops, what are GT numbers? And then the question was asked, what does that look like when we compare it to the state? So here's that chart. And so looking at it, we're still about that, I kept the all enrollment, but then I added in our state numbers so that you can see how we compare to that. So pretty much our smallest is going to be our foster care and our military and then our special ed. So we're running about, and the weird thing about our bilingual, the ESL, our English learners, they do break that up, and it's actually sometimes you can see it broken up into 3 categories. So we're about, 6% bilingual, 3% ESL, and then really looking at our dyslexic at 2%. So, there's some areas where it could be considered, are we really truly identifying all these students, or they're just not floating to the top? Or how true and accurate are our numbers. So this is just for awareness, just knowing that as we go into looking at that, is this a different opportunity? All right. And then I see a question in the chat. So where can you get, so question is, where can you get your regional data percentage of GT in our region? So you can get your regional numbers still on that same website. It will give you the straight numbers. And so you'll have to do a little mathematics to get the average from your regional data to your compared to the state data or to other regions or break it down. So it does not automatically put it that way for you, but you can get it broken down. Now, also, and I did not show you on the website, if you want your regional data, and there's a couple of ways I do provide to your ESCs, and it is also some public information of their regional numbers broken down by ESC for, and let me go back one, definitely all of these program services and twice all of the economically disadvantaged Title I, depending on the numbers. It is available per district. You may have to do a request for that, but yeah, we can do that. So I see Amber's taking care of you, Candy, so she'll get that to you. All right. So that leads me to any shout outs, happenings, or anyone want to share, or I also got my question and answers. You got questions for me? Fill those out. But yeah, it's your time to ask Monica, or tell me what's going on in your district or your region. Oh, Meredith got a virtual expo tip. All right, Meredith.
Okay, I was just going to share this because I mean, this may be old news to many of you, but it came to me and we worked on it all last week. So, you know, we're trying to figure out what we're going to do with the virtual expo and all of that, and, you know, what kind of system we would put together. And I don't know, you've probably all heard of Flipgrid before, but, you know, it's a free video kind of sharing site that has, you know, all kinds of privacy features built in, things like that. But we had some teachers kind of take a look at it, and we've designed this whole just completely virtual expo that the students can record their videos through that service, and it's all built in, or they can, you know, do their own fancy editing and stuff like that separately and upload them that way. But it's just all kind of one-stop shop, and then you can, what we've done is, like, at the district level, I created an account and then created all the different groups for each of the campuses, and then those campuses in turn are having the students post the videos there. And so it can be shared out in certain ways with parents. It can be password protected, but the best part is it's 100% free. So that's a kind of a neat option there. And I'm happy to chat with anyone else if they wanted to use it, but it was super, I don't know, it seems like it's going well, so.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. So Richardson ISD was featured in in the Dallas Morning News. And if someone has that news article link, if you just drop it in the chat, that will be appreciated. Let's see, we've got Kathleen Plott, they're having their great thoughts. It's a GT Expo also. They're using Schoology and a private YouTube channel. Very good. All right. And a lot of people are going into Flipgrids and using that. The showcase is open for a week. Grid. There we go. Thank you, Monica, for the article there. I have one question came in. So wonderings about Winter Snapshot, if you still have a lot of kinders or your K2 that were not coming in for, or actually any of your elementary kids who are not coming in at this point in time, or you missed that March deadline. as I said earlier, that March deadline is really a financial accounting deadline. It's not necessarily our GT deadline. You will really, we're being very flexible and very lenient at the moment. I will have to look to see in teams, but I want to say it's probably late April. But definitely, you'll have another option, definitely in April. I want to say sometime at the end of this month is a possibility when you can clean that up. And then the other opportunity will be actually with the June accounting, when they do the final accounting for the entire school year. So really, those are your opportunities. So when you really think about, you might want to catch your PEAMS coordinator to ask when is their next, and typically it's either going to be your depending on your size, your registrar or your district level person. When will those next reporting be go in? And then really looking at how do you clean up? What are they doing, and how are they looking at that? And then going from there. Let's see. Is the Expo required or just recommended? No, an Expo is not required, but it is a good opportunity for students to showcase their work, and then actually get your parents involved into seeing what, and your staff, to see what's really the product of when that kid is out of their room, what is really happening, and really going into that. And so it's really giving that child an opportunity to celebrate what they've learned over the year, or depending on how you do your projects, or to really just give an opportunity to conversate. And then hopefully at the secondary level, allow those kids to get their projects and their projects and products and performances really judged by, at that professional level, by someone not, those professionals from the field, and get that quality, to meet our state goal of that professional product. So really looking at how we're doing that and going to that level. I answered most questions that were in the chat. Any other questions? Got a couple of minutes. If you think about it. All right, so we got an increase of our data. Very good, Mallory. Marvelous. All right. You might have to tell us how you did that.
Conversations with teachers.
Yay. Get those teachers in the house, get them understanding. All right. As I know Paulina mentioned, they're having a parent workshops. NAGC also with John Hopkins are having different little speaker sessions for supporting your child during these challenging and stressful times. And so I shared that a couple of weeks ago. So the first one is actually this Wednesday. So think, it might be a double hit for your parents. Another opportunity for them. I'll come back to that. And then Harvard International Relations is looking for high school students for their international program. They are actually having a opportunity for them to do global affairs, international relations, and doing a summer campus retreat. So really thinking, and I believe it is virtual. So the deadline was the 1st, but sometimes I did get another announcement, so they probably extended that a little bit. So really thinking about May 1st is the final deadline. So this is an opportunity if you're really looking for your students, some of your high school students, something a little bit different, and especially if you got those who are your stellar social studies students who are into history and into the global world, looking at that, this is an opportunity for them. our EL portal. Actually, I believe they're in EL portal 2.0 now. So they've updated that. And so still the same link. So check that out. And here is my contact information. So if you will reach me, you can reach me at 512-475-0626, or both of my emails do. I do try to answer emails in a timely manner. Sometimes I do miss one, so you might have to just remind me. But or I flag it, and it takes a moment to get back to. So, and I have. You do not offend me if you have to remind me. So, but you can always call also. So I want to say thank you, everyone. I hope I answered every question. Cheryl, which website are you looking for in the chat? I will show the EL. There we go. And yeah, you can do the QR code or the, I do have, all right. Yeah. Okay, Cheryl got it. All right. So if there are no other questions, it's 9:59. I actually kept it on time today. So I want to say thank you. Everybody have a great week. Enjoy your time, and see you next in a couple of weeks.